Side by side of David and Arnold Palmer. The resemblance is just uncanny, right? Maybe we can have our guest tonight analyze this swing. Berg, PGA assistant pro from Sahalee. What do you think about that one?
I don't know if there's too much comparison with those two, but
just in the aftermath.
maybe the fact that they're standing next to it.
Yeah, that actually works. Derek is here to talk about the bloodbath that was the U.S. Open this weekend, but also the Sahalee Players Championship, which is July 2nd to the 4th, the best amateur players in the world. We'll get to that in a second, but let's start with the Open. Every year it seems like there's more controversy with the USGA and the course setup. What was your take on what happened yesterday with the wind and kind of being off of the edge there?
Yeah, I mean, the USGA, they really push it to the limits. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they try to make it difficult. It's 1 week out of the year. I mean, you know, the rest of the week, those guys are shooting a lot of low scores. So the USGA is definitely known for that. Personally, I enjoy it. I like watching it. I think maybe in the final round today, they might have softened it up a little too much. But Brooks played great, and it was still thrilling coming down. Tommy Fleetwood made a miraculous comeback to try to, you know, maybe push a sudden death, but no, it was great TV.
And then what we saw yesterday with Phil Mickelson, let's show that again, because that is something none of us had ever seen before, especially,
That's for sure.
I mean, aside when I do it with my buddies on a Friday afternoon, running after the ball, intentionally stopping it. What was your reaction when you saw this?
It definitely was what just happened. You don't see that really ever, so I think we all kind of stood there with our jaws down and didn't really know what had happened right away, but you know, I think he probably regretted it a little bit, you know, if someone asked him now. And, you know, there was a lot of other players that probably had similar situation these last 2 days, and you didn't see them doing that. So I'm sure he regrets it.
Do you think he should have been disqualified?
Yeah, personally, I think so. I think it was a little, maybe not the right message to send to maybe some of the younger kids that are playing. And like I said, a lot of those guys were probably, you know, dealing with the same stuff, maybe even on 13, and we didn't see anybody else doing that, you know, so I think he just got really frustrated and that he just reacted the way he did, and like I said, it's probably regrettable.
Well, a number of players this week, at one point in their amateur career, actually played in the Sahalee Players Championship, one of the most prestigious amateur tournaments in the world this year, July 2nd to the 4th at Sahalee Country Club. How would you characterize this tournament?
It's a great event. I look forward to it every year. You know, it's right up there with the USGA events that I was fortunate to participate in. Luckily, it's right down the street from my house, so that was kind of nice too. Right. But, you know, you're going to see a lot of players that from a year or 2 or 3 down the road, you're going to see them on TV playing in those U.S. Opens and playing in other majors. So, you know, there's nothing but talent that you're going to see out at this tournament, and you have for years. Yeah,
some of the former players include Dustin Johnson, Kyle Stanley, Kevin Chappell. You actually lost in a playoff with Kyle Stanley and Dustin Johnson, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. 2006, it was myself, Kyle, and Dustin and John McClain, and you know, Dustin and I watched John and Kyle play, you know, one hole because they made a couple of eagles, and we had to leave with pars after that first hole, and then Kyle made another eagle about 2 holes later and closed it out. Closed it out, and it was. I know there was a lot of people actually there that year to see that, and it was pretty amazing.
Well, so I go back to the Junior Amateur Championship that was out of Gold Mountain in Bremerton when Jordan Spieth won back in the day, and then Peter Uihlein wins the U.S. Amateur Championship at Chambers Bay. These are players you are going to be seeing in just a few years on the PGA Tour. What kind of crowds do you get for an event like this, and why aren't more people out there? Because that would be your chance to get up close and personal with some of the stars of tomorrow.
No, absolutely. Why there's not, I'm not sure. You know, again, maybe it's not, you know, being pushed hard enough, and that's what we're trying to do this year. Okay. Because you're right. I mean, I started to look at the list the other day again and look at some of the past results, and it's deep. I mean, there is a lot of players that, I mean, Dustin's going to be a Hall of Famer, and there's a lot of other major winners and PGA Tour winners and PGA Tour players that I played in that event. So we welcome everybody to come out. I mean, we want to see those crowds. I mean, that is what is, you know, expected in an event like this. So we welcome people to come out and watch these young players, and they hit it a long ways, and like you just said, I mean, they are going to be the guys that you see a year or 5 years down the road on TV. So please come and watch them and see what they can do at such a young age too.
10 or 15 seconds, just need to get your take on Chambers Bay changing all the greens to POA. Do you think there's a chance they get a future U.S. Open?
I think so. I mean, if those greens can get good, that golf course is amazing, and it is a good layout, and you know, you're going to see, you can see a lot of great golf out there. So yeah, I think if they can get them right, I think it could easily host it again.
Back to the Sahalee Players Championship again. You have a pick?
Minwoo Lee from last year. I mean, I think he lost in the playoff.
Right.
That kid, I'll tell you what, he's like a Justin Thomas. He hits it a mile, and he's not a big kid. So, again, come out and watch him play.
Well, Berg, Sahalee Assistant Pro, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Again, the Sahalee Players Championship, July 2nd to the 4th out in Sammamish. We enjoy that one. We can't wait to be out there and checking some of the best amateur players and stars of tomorrow out there for that. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to it.
We'll be back.